What is up, YouTube? Kid Moto 22 here, coming to you guys today with a travel reflections video. I just kind of want to reflect a little bit on my travels from this season. I mean, I had a really good 2020 season. I know for a lot of people 2020 sucked, and I'm not gonna lie, 2020 did suck. I did not get to do everything that I wanted to this season. However, I did get to do a bunch of things that I didn't know I was going to do this season. So let's talk about that. We're going to do a travel reflections video. Welcome back, everybody. Kid Moto 22 here. And I told you guys today I was going to do a travel reflections video. And I just want to kind of reflect on my 2020 riding season and what traveling this season meant to me in terms of what I was going to do and then what I did do. So the big event this year was supposed to be the Midwest Moto Meetup number 2 in Louisville, Kentucky. So for those of you that do not know, you can check out the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. That will give you all the information. You can follow 5 Dirty Bikers on Instagram, and that will really align you with what the Midwest Moto Meetup is. We talk all about it on there. The Midwest Moto Meetup is essentially a moto meetup that is designed to be for people in the Midwest. Now, people can come from all over the country. We do not discriminate. We wanted to do something in the Midwest. Why Kentucky, you say? Kentucky's not traditionally a Midwestern state. I would agree. It's probably a southern state. However, Tony Cox, one of our 5 Dirty Biker crew and a Midwest Moto Meetup OG from the first one, was gracious enough to host it. Kentucky has some amazing riding, and so we were like, yep, we're going to do it in Kentucky. So the Midwest Moto Meetup was going to be in Kentucky this year, and what happened? Well, it was fucking COVID, right? That's what happened to everybody. COVID took over, and we were not able to continue with the Midwest Moto Meetup. The governor of Kentucky was canceling pretty much everything, and truthfully, with the rising rates of COVID, it was just, you know, we all kind of decided it was going to be safer if we did not do it, and so we postponed it. We did not cancel, we postponed it. So I started my season essentially getting on my bike actually fairly early in the year. I'm trying to think. I believe I did put out my first motovlog of the season, I think was in March this year. Might have been beginning April, but I don't remember. But I did get on my bike fairly early in the season, and then we kind of got some cold, rainy weather again, so it kind of derailed that a little bit. And so I went you know, kind of started my motovlog season there, and from that point it was just essentially a fairly regular season of riding for me. We didn't have a lot of things in our area here shut down. I did commute back and forth to work, which is a lot of the riding that I do. I did a lot more riding and motovlogging with Mrs. Kid Moto. If you've watched any of my other content, you've heard her on my channel, and you've heard her motovlogging with me, and that was a really exciting kind of new development this year, was having Mrs. Kid Moto on the channel and motovlogging with me, and also having Mrs. Kid Moto take her first motorcycle trip. And so that was my first essentially trip of the year. Was Mrs. Kid Moto and I went to the North Shore in Duluth, Minnesota, and we rode on the, they call it the North Shore on this side, but really it's the, you know, it's the West Shore of Lake Superior, and then they call it the North Shore because you kind of head north to kind of go towards Canada. So we call it the North Shore of Lake Superior around here, but it's truly not the North Shore of Lake Superior. But anyway, we went to the went to Duluth, Minnesota, We rode Lake Superior. We spent 4 days on the motorcycle. We hit everything imaginable. We had nice weather, we had rainy weather, we had windy weather, we had super hot weather the day we came back. So we, Mrs. Kid Moto was able to experience everything typically that you would experience on a trip like that. And it was great. It opened her eyes to riding that she'd never done before. We spent 4 days together and were able to kind of get out of town. We did that ride in June, so it was a good time. It was a really good time to get out of town, to do a nice ride, for Mrs. Kid Moto to get out and do a long distance trip on a motorcycle. We packed everything down. We did not camp. Mrs. Kid Moto is not a camper. She's open to the idea, but she's certainly not going to camp for an extended period of time like I've done. But she's open to the idea, so we'll see. We might have some Mrs. Kid Moto camping motovlogs coming up next season. But we went and spent, like I said, 4 days on the motorcycle. We drove down there to Duluth the first day, and then stayed in a hotel. And then the second day we packed the bike down and headed back up the North Shore, and stopped at Grand Marais, and then stayed in a hotel there, of course eating at all the local restaurants we could that we were allowed to. Then the next day we came back down the North Shore from Grand Marais, stayed in Duluth another night, and then went on a ferry ride, did some kind of touristy things around town, and then we came back and drove back on the last day. And that last ride back was an adventure for sure, because that last day back was the day that we hit rain, and we broke in our rain gear. We hit everything on this trip. And so that was our first big trip of the year, and it was great. Like I said, it was packed full of everything. I have I've put out a few videos of our trip and kind of hit the, I think I have 3 videos of from that travel trip that you'll be able to find on my channel. Yeah, it was a great time. So that was the first trip. So the rest of my season was essentially filled with commuting, doing the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast, and just kind of centered around that kind of stuff. I didn't do any other crazy traveling. At the end of the season, I had set aside time to go down to Kentucky for the Midwest Moto Meetup. The Midwest Moto Meetup got canceled. It got rescheduled to a different date. When we rescheduled the Midwest Moto Meetup, I knew I had that time off. We decided, hey, we didn't want to let that time go to waste. We wanted to continue to utilize that time and do some traveling. And so I said, hey, what do you think about heading out to South Dakota? The Sturgis crowd will be gone. We can head out there. We can ride all the great places and not have to deal with all of the crowds and everything they have to deal with around the Sturgis time. He thought that was a great idea. I put it on our 5 Dirty Bikers Discord. So if you're not familiar with the 5 Dirty Bikers Discord, it's a free chat server. Go to www.5dirtybikers.com. There's a link to the Discord. It's free. If you want to join a group of great people in the motorcycling community, check out the 5 Dirty Bikers Discord. So I put it out on the Discord and said, hey, I'm doing this trip. Anybody wants to come on out. And so I had, initially we had, I believe, about 5 additional people that were going to come out there. And I'm not going to lie, the weather got terrible. So 2 days before we were supposed to head out to South Dakota, it snowed 9 inches at the campground that we were going to. Quite literally 2 days before. 2 days before they got that snowstorm, it was 96 degrees. It went from 96 degrees to 9 inches of snow in 2 days where we were going, which was quite literally about 30 miles from Sturgis. It was insane. We were kind of like, you know, what do we do here? We decided, you know what? It's an adventure. Let's do it. So we headed up back out there. We had some people that were going to join us. So we had a couple people coming from Illinois, Iowa area, Iowa and Michigan. And there was bad weather that was moving all the way across that area. That snowstorm turned to rain and moved across South Dakota and moved into Iowa, moved into, you know, all of the Michigan, all these areas where people were coming from, and it was a disaster, right, for those people. We decided we're going to go anyway. We were not going to hit any of that bad weather here. We actually decided to travel west across North Dakota and then head south towards the area that we were going to go to on the western side of South Dakota. And so we avoided all the rain. Some of the people that were going to meet us out there, they couldn't avoid it. They either had to ride through the rain, ride through the cold, ride through all that. It was unavoidable for them. And honestly, we had a couple people that opted out. And you know what? No hard feelings. I don't blame anybody that didn't come. If you were not prepared for the cold or the rain, and it was kind of, you know, it was cold. I mean, you were going to be riding in 40-degree weather. If you were not prepared for 40-degree rainy weather, 50-degree rainy weather, don't do it, because it was going to be a lot. It was going to be really cold and really rainy and not fun for a lot of people. We did have Todd on a motorcycle. If you don't know who Todd on a motorcycle is, follow him on YouTube, or excuse me, follow him on Instagram. Todd on a motorcycle, and I believe Todd is working on a YouTube channel, so I'm pretty sure he's going to have one very soon. But he did come out from Michigan. He rode out 1,200 miles to ride with us in South Dakota. So man, big props for Todd. He came out, he rode with us for 2 days. It was awesome having Todd out there. I put it out on Instagram also that I was doing this trip, and I got hit up by another local cat, Dakota Rider 95. Dakota Rider 95 hit me up and said, hey, you mind if I tag along? I said, absolutely not. You know, that's what this is about. You know, having a motorcycle and taking these trips, this is what this is about. So we met up with him a couple weeks before we were going to hit the road, just to kind of, you know, get to know each other a little bit. We did a quick little ride one day and talked about some details. And turns out Dakota Rider 95 is a rustic camper. I mean, this cat does some legit camping, way more advanced camping than I do. And so he was a great guy to have on, man. He knew his stuff. And of course, JC Cycles and I have both ridden together and camped together before, so I was perfectly comfortable with what him and I were going to be doing. And we were actually, you know, we were fully intending on that him and I might be doing the trip, just the two of us. But so we had Dakota Rider 95 coming with us, Todd on a motorcycle that met us out there. Again, like I said, there was a couple more guys that were going to come, and they just had to back out because of the weather. And then the last guy that came out was Jay Sherman. Jay Sherman is a MMM OG. So Jay Sherman came to the Midwest Moto Meetup, the very first Midwest Moto Meetup, and Jay Sherman was going to meet us out and ride with us in South Dakota. And he had to wait. He delayed his trip, I'm thinking 3 days. So I'm thinking he delayed his trip 3 days, and he rode out anyway. I mean, just busted nuts to get out there. We rode Devil's Tower, rode out to Devil's Tower with him one day on that trip. And I met him out there, and then he did some riding out there after we left. We were heading out because we'd already been out there for 5 days when we did the ride with him. So we had 1 day of riding with Jay, 2 days of riding with Todd on a motorcycle, and we had 3 days of time out there on our own. We hit everything you can imagine on that trip. Our first day, we camped, and it was 28 degrees. I'll be putting out some travel videos on this. This is kind of just my travel recap, but you'll kind of get some of the details in those travel videos. If you haven't watched them, go ahead and watch those, because those travel videos will probably start to come out before this one will, because I'll just save this as my kind of 2020 travel reflection video, which will likely come later on in the fall for me. But anyway, yeah, maybe I'll leave some of the details for all of that in that video, but of all the things that we experienced on that trip. But to wrap it up, that trip was 6 days, 7 days, 2,300 miles, and hitting every kind of weather imaginable, hitting every kind of, I mean, the only thing that we didn't get on that trip was rain. Everything else we experienced. There was snow when we got there in our campsite. It was, below freezing riding out the first day, below freezing when we got to our campsite the night. We had 2 days of 650 plus miles of travel, and in between that we rode another 1,000 miles up there, between riding the Badlands, riding the Black Hills, riding Needles Highway, riding Spearfish Canyon, and riding out to Devil's Tower. It was an absolutely epic trip. You got to put South Dakota on your map, on your bucket list. If you have not ridden South Dakota, it's some of the best riding up there that you're going to find in the country. It offers everything that you would find in some of the best places in the country, except for maybe the ocean. I mean, it's got everything. It's got everything imaginable, and you still got your Mount Rushmore, Crazy Horse. We did Crazy Horse while we were up there, drove by Rushmore. I mean, just absolutely epic riding, and so you got to put that on your list. But so that's essentially how I capped off my season, and then came back, did the 10K service, had the 10K service done on my bike, and honestly, today is the first day out for me riding. Since, let me see, it's probably been already 2 weeks that I've been back, or more than 2 weeks I've been back, and I've only ridden twice since I've been back. I had one other day that was gorgeous. It was about 80 degrees and had some technical difficulties, which you guys have heard about before, and I did not get any good moto vlogs from that. And so I upgraded my camera setup, and so I'm doing this moto vlog with my new GoPro Hero 9. So I'm pretty excited. I'm doing some things I haven't done before on this one, which is some low light moto vlogging, right? So you can kind of see the sun is down or nearly down, and so we'll see what this looks like with some low light moto vlogging going on. I've not ever done a nighttime moto vlog or a low light moto vlog, so we'll see. I'm excited to see how this stuff turns out. Either way, as long as I have good audio, I'm putting the baby out because I want to see what it's like. So, but yeah, that was my trips. I did Duluth, I did South Dakota. There you go. I'll probably talk on a later video if I get another chance to do some moto vlogging before the end of the year, which I probably will. I will talk a little bit more about my plans for next year, what I have coming up, and that kind of stuff, because I think that who knows, I might go on a trip to Milwaukee over Memorial Day. I'm working out some details for that ride. That may or may not happen. I don't know. I'm working on some details there. I would really like to ride with some other local motor vloggers in the area, so I'm hoping to maybe connect with some people that I haven't connected with yet, and do some other trips, because I'd like to do, last year I did, I would say 1.5 trips. I did a camping trip last year that was over the course of 3 days was about 800 miles, or 4 days, about 800 miles. But it was a smaller trip, and it was only about 350 miles away from me. So not too bad. You know, I plan on doing some more riding like that next year. So I'm gonna wrap this up. If you like what I'm doing, give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my content, you can hit the bell icon. If you like what I'm doing, subscribe to my channel. Hit me up in the comments below. Find me on Instagram. Check out the 5 Dirty Bikers podcast. I do a little bit of everything. I appreciate each and every one of you that's been subscribing and watching my content, and that has been, you know, commenting on my videos. I can't thank you guys enough for, you know, helping me be a, you know, continue to be a part of this great community and helping build a great community around my channel. I appreciate everything. This is Kid Moto. I'm out.